When I was 14 years old and I began making demonstration records, my father said to me, we read the newspapers every day, right? And you'd have to know how much the United States is hated and envied all over the world. And I said, sure they hate us. We won. Hooray for our side. And my father said, no, you have to stop thinking that way. You have to think bigger. Someday, if you ever make it on records, and that's a long shot, honey, you have to think about using music to make friends for our country all over the world. He said, especially with the two countries that are going to be our two biggest allies, and that's Germany and Japan. And at the time, I thought that was absurd. But when I did finally start making hit records, that was my goal. It was to make friends for our country through music all over the world. When I went to Vietnam, I went there alone, and I went to every base and performed there, and it was the most gratifying trip I've ever made. I've never felt more needed or wanted, and it was a life-altering experience to go to Vietnam. I didn't think about being brave. I'm so petrified of airplanes that I make a fool of myself on planes. I grab the arm of the person sitting next to me, even if I don't know him or her. But over in Vietnam, I flew in every kind of crate imaginable, and I never gave it a second thought. I was on a mission there, and that was to entertain our troops. I remember one night when a famous general asked me what songs I was going to be singing that night. And I said, well, my hits and anything the guys want to hear. And I always close my shows back here and at home with God Bless America. And the general, who was just under Westmoreland, he said, oh, Connie, not that song, not here. These men are bitter, broken, and beaten, and they actually hate their country. They've suffered a lot of casualties in this company. And I said, well, my money's on these guys. So I went to the microphone, and without any introduction of any kind, I began singing the first 4 lines of God Bless America before one lone soldier stood, and he put his hand over his heart and began singing along with me. Then 10 followed, then 100 more. And then that night, there were 25,000 American soldiers with their hands over their hearts and tears streaming from their eyes, singing the praises of their country. And that was just a thrill beyond belief. More than any Vegas opening or Copacabana opening or Palladium opening was my trip to Vietnam.